Nitro number 156, September 7th, 1998. Cameras stormed into the NWO's locker room where Warrior had tagged the wall. Hogan was screaming, "He's invisible!" They were storming through the backstage area when Vincent runs up to them and says, "Someone has been laid out and taken away in an ambulance." Mm-hmm. Hogan says, "Who was it?" Vincent says, "I don't know."
You don't know? You idiot.
Then Hogan says, "I know who it was." I was already so confused.
No. Hogan wants to know who got beat up.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows who that is, apparently.
Right.
But Hogan knows who beat him up.
Ah.
The Warrior.
I see.
Yes.
They stopped down to the ring. They called out Warrior. Then Hogan revealed he didn't know who had been beat up when he said Warrior had taken out Scott Norton and Brian Adams.
Wow, two guys now.
And he knew it had been from behind.
Good for Warrior. Got rid of Brian Adams. I love how they go down there and they're looking all over for the Warrior, including underneath the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't look very well.
He added that Bret Hart was off the War Games team. The Giant was taking his place. He promised there was no way Warrior was going to get through Disciple and the Giant to get to him.
What did Bret Hart have to do with any of this?
Bret Hart was on his team, and him and Hogan had a brawl last week.
Okay.
Where were you?
Not Cannon Beach.
That's true.
Well, that's on you then.
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh, what's our first match here? Imagine 300 people. Maybe as many as 380. And our first matchup.
Now, I'll say this for you, Brian.
Hold on. 380, and they had to bring in enhancement talent.
Yeah. I could have listed 3,000 names. I never would have guessed Conan's opponent in this opener.
Well, I bet Bull Payne was making six figures.
Conan wrestled Bull Payne in the Nitro opener.
Yep. Bull Payne versus Conan was the opener on this unopposed Nitro.
The first time I ever watched an ECW tape, Bull Payne was in the opening match.
I hope you got rid of that tape.
Did you watch more ECW after that?
Absolutely.
Conan, in all seriousness, got blown up during his pre-match promo. So I figured, okay, Conan's a star. Bull Payne is as unknown as you can be and have a match on Nitro. Conan's going to beat this guy in 30 seconds. Wrong! They had a back-and-forth match. Bull Payne hit a top rope splash for a near fall.
Yes.
What the hell is going on?
They had a competitive match.
Why?
I don't know, but you know what? It was a decent match.
Sure.
Conan won. Fans were super into Conan. And up to this point, I thought this was a good show.
Conan eventually won with the same combo he always wins with: leapfrog, spin kick, X Factor, tequila sunrise.
Yep.
I asked Brutal Bob, if Bull Payne still works, and he said yes.
I'm sure he does.
Connecticut.
I'm sure he does.
Good for him.
Yep.
Probably has a lot of fun doing it.
I betcha.
Now we had 3 straight interview segments.
And a recap.
Not
Does that count?
like an interview and then a match and then an interview and a match. We had Gene Okerlund 3 straight times with 3 different guys.
So first there's a recap of the Bret Hart Hulk Hogan drama from last week. Mean Gene interviewed J.J. Dillon. He said he had been there when the contracts were signed. Hogan and Bischoff did not have the authority to make a replacement in War Games. Thus, the Giant was not in the match. Bret Hart would be.
Wow. Laying down the law.
Go to commercial. They come back. Mean Gene brings out DDP for a promo. Gene asked Paige, "Are you going to join the Wolfpack?" And everyone cheered because the Wolfpack is cool and WCW sucks.
This was so bizarre because DDP was supposed to be a top babyface, but the storyline is he's not going to join the Wolfpack because he doesn't trust him. Mm-hmm. So he turned himself heel.
I don't know if he meant to, but that's what happened.
He didn't mean to. That's the point.
Yeah.
Like the way this was booked, like he ended up turning himself heel.
Yes.
By turning down the Wolfpack and talking about how he didn't trust Kevin Nash.
Yes. So Nash comes out. He said the Wolfpack was the elitist. Like elite, eliter, elitist.
Yeah, the elitist.
Yeah. He warned Paige that if they were not friends in War Games, they'd be enemies. Paige repeated he did not trust Nash. Out came Luger and Sting. Lex repeats the invitation to Paige, but he does it in the most insulting manner possible. You could try to recruit someone. So Paige turns him down. He adds, you guys know Kevin Nash would powerbomb either one of you in a heartbeat. So now it's Sting's turn to try. Sting's rebuttal to Page's accusation is, Kevin Nash has already powerbombed me once, maybe twice. So there's no problem there. What?
Well, they've been through it. Vinny, let's talk about the real problem here.
There's many.
You mentioned the line about how Nash would powerbomb either of them. What you are not missing is, this is what DDP said. He says, you know what War Games is all about. Nash would powerbomb either of you in a heartbeat. I realize that's what War Games is about this year, but that's not what War Games had ever been about, ever. This War Games is like 3 teams facing off against each other, but it's every man for himself. Why is it even War Games?
I don't know.
It's so stupid.
Wait a minute. It's every man for himself, but there's teams?
because whoever gets the win gets a championship match. So you're not working together as a team. You're only out for yourself to get a championship match.
Yeah. I see. I scoffed at that line because there wouldn't be... I understand now.
They fucked the whole thing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, screw tradition. Let's go with something new in War Games.
So Sting finally says, if you want to fight Page, we don't have to wait till War Games. You go find Roddy Piper to face any 2 of us Wolfpack dudes in a tag match tonight.
Can't I get somebody good?
Page immediately accepts, but as they're leaving, Page challenges Nash. Kevin Nash, the leader of the Wolfpack, make sure you make yourself a part of that match. Everyone keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge him to his face to fight.
Well, what happened was, he was gonna be in the match, but then they rewrote the show in the middle of the show.
Well, I'll tell you.
That's what happened.
You've just told us how the sausage is made.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you later what it tasted like.
Shit.
Yeah.
We all know that.
All right. So Piper comes out for a promo.
This was actually a good Roddy Piper promo.
What?
Because he made a very... He made a very good point.
He was the one who was on Craig's side.
Nash said, DDP, I need to know if you're in the Wolfpack. And DDP goes, I don't like when people tell me what to do. So then at the very end of his segment, DDP volunteered Roddy Piper for a match. And Roddy Piper came out and he said, you know what? You talked about not liking being told what to do, and the first thing you do is try to tell me what to do. But then he agrees to do it.
Says he will team with Page for one night only. They'll be partners tonight. They'll be enemies at War Games. And Piper's the one, of all people, who has the coherent thought to say, am I the only one who points out there are no teams in this match?
That's right.
It's every man for himself.
He was very un-Piper today. He made a lot of sense.
And he Nitro Girls hype video, which is funny just because aren't the Nitro Girls segments hype videos unto themselves?
Who cares?
Yes, they're hype women.
I see.
Yeah.
Lenny Lane versus Wrath. Wrath squashed it for 2 minutes and won with a pump handle power slam.
Cool.
Thank you for not wasting a lot of time with this.
Back in the locker room, Hogan and company found Disciple hung upside down from the ceiling.
I loved this. Disciple is hung upside down by his legs.
Sure.
Like he's a bear that just got caught or something like that. The announcers, because he's upside down.
Worst analogies ever.
Now, have you ever seen when you catch a bear, you string him up by the legs?
Tell me more about bear
photos,
catching.
I've seen photos online of this because people Photoshop in Bigfoot. You don't believe me? You want me to find it? But anyway, point of this is that guy's hung upside down. Because he's upside down, the announcers can't figure out who it is.
Right.
The announcers, first off, before Tenay, the announcers say, it appears to be the Disciple. We think.
Sure.
We're not sure. He's fucking upside down.
I missed that quote.
They think it must have been the Warrior. Because you see, the Warrior symbol is painted all over the goddamn wall. Mm-hmm. And the guy's been strung up.
Some great investigational.
No, Craig.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mike Tenay then notes, despite the graffiti and everything else, we have no proof that it was the Warrior.
He's onto something.
He is a man of facts. He was playing Dave.
Perhaps Warrior has been framed.
He could have been framed. Mike Tenay knew we did not have factual proof that Warrior did this. And he wanted the announcers to temper their commentary. It's very important.
Bret Hart comes down to the ring. I don't know why. I don't know what his plans were. But he comes out. Then the NWO music plays, and Curt Hennig, Stevie Ray, and Vincent come out. And then before anything can happen with any of these men, Sting runs down with his baseball bat. Everyone except Bret clears the ring. Bret goes to high-five him. Sting pushes him away with a bat, hands the bat to Bret, turns his back. Bret won't hit him. Sting walks away. So it's what Sting did for that year and a half he was on the sidelines where he was testing who he could trust.
Yeah. Yep.
And Bret passed the test.
Oh, goody.
Now, the funniest thing was, and maybe it's just me, Sting, when he was doing this before, when he was Crow Sting and mute, he was always very solemn, and he took this all very seriously. Wolfpack Sting is much more laid back.
Yep.
So he hands Bret the bat and turns around and slightly raises his shoulders. There's no attack, so he just shrugs and moseys on off. It's much more of a joke to Sting now.
Gee, I wonder why. He learned his lesson about taking shit seriously.
I guess so. A Rick Steiner promo package.
This was awesome. This was the best interview Rick Steiner's ever done in his whole entire life.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was.
Mainly because they had Rick do an interview talking into the camera and making all those points. He probably did about 20 takes.
Oh, I don't know. He may have only needed one.
And I suspect he did a lot, and they took the best of it and edited it all together with clips of his brother. So Rick's points were Scott had changed on the inside, and for what Scott had done to their parents, Rick was going to beat his ass.
Scott has changed on the outside too, by the way.
That's true. He hoped Scott and Buff were having fun making fun of him, but someday the NWO would kick Scott out, and Rick would not be there when he came crying. As a team, they'd won every belt in the world. Scott had thrown it all away. He loved watching all of Scott's awesome finishes for years, but now Scott was going to have to prove he was the better Steiner brother.
This blew my mind. This guy spent his whole career being like a numbskull. If I'd only known, if I'd been in charge and I knew what a good promo this guy could cut, that would have been the end of the dog-faced gremlin. He'd have just been Rick Badass Steiner kicking everybody's ass like his brother. He was just as scary as his brother. He just never showed that side. Just went out there and barked.
Evan Courageous versus Scott Steiner. Buff came out to do commentary.
You know, the highlight of this was at the very beginning when Scott cut a promo on him over the house mic as he was beating his ass. He should have done that, in every match. Should have had a wireless mic and just destroyed jobbers with a mic in one hand, throwing them around with the other hand, and just killing them.
I wish Scott would have ran in last week on Evan Courageous when he wrestled Hoovy.
Yeah. He squashed him and won with the camel clutch. Nitro Party clips. A bunch of children at the YMCA still had graphics. Hector Garza versus Juventud Guerrero.
So Hector Garza had been gone for a long time because he had knee surgery. And he was supposed to be out until November, but he started working shows in Mexico. And it was 1997, and there was now an internet. And he got caught.
See.
So they said, get your ass back to work, dude. So here he was, wrestling Hoovy.
So things are going along fine for a while.
Kinda.
You could see Hector was a little hesitant at times on his bad knee. And you can also see he was not yet in prime ring shape, but everything was more or less going okay. Then Hector grabs him for a pedigree and just stands there and then lets go. I think it was actually supposed to be a submission hold. I'm not sure. Then Hector tries to drop kick as Hoovy's walking away. So Hector just changes direction in midair and just kicks the hell out of him. Hoovy tries a top rope Rana. Hector tries to catch him. They both fall down. Hector power bombs him as hard as he can. Finally, he misses a Kibarata, and Hoovy hits the Michinoku driver for the win. It was very, very sloppy, but it was by far the best action the fans have seen all night, and they popped big for the finish.
Yeah, they got into it there at the end, so good job, guys.
Me and Gene interviewed Rick Rude and Curt Hennig.
Rick Rude's got his mustache back.
Thank God.
He's kind of grown it a little bit down the sides, kind of like the beginning of a Hulk Hogan sort of mustache.
It'd be way cooler.
Just looks fucking awesome. So they're burying Art Anderson. And they're setting up Curt Hennig versus Dean Malenko in a cage match.
Cage match.
Right.
They said it here, but I didn't realize it until the match started. That's actually what was happening.
And so Curt Hennig says, after I finish off Dean tonight, The entire world will know he's nothing more than a horse's ass. Rick Rude about it, Mean Gene. Nobody can pull off this fucking line. Nobody. But if anybody could come close, it is the combo of Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude. I love these dudes. They're the best.
Now, why the cage match? Did I miss a bunch of TV?
Fuck no, they're just doing it.
Apparently there's a bunch of matches on Thunder where NWO guys had run in.
Hey, they're adding Thunder to the network.
Matches.
No,
yeah, they are.
No, we are not watching.
They're adding Thunder.
Absolutely not. I'm putting my foot down.
Craig, within 6 months, you are going to be begging to switch to Thunder. Trust me. Because it's only 2 hours.
Oh, wait a minute. Now
Exactly. Exactly.
I retract everything I just said.
Now, see, one of these days we're going to go back and we'll review Heat and Thunder.
Jeez.
19 years ago on Heat and Thunder. Can you imagine?
Might as well get Saturday night's main event in there, too. Maybe.
No, I would enjoy that one.
That's true.
Most of that.
You mean Shotgun Saturday night?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Main event. Superstars.
Oh, let's talk about another great match they actually put on television.
Yes.
Ernest Miller versus Chaos.
No. Kenny Chaos. He's a singles wrestler.
Kenny Chaos.
The Cat versus Chaos.
Kenny.
Which actually I see in my house every day.
Well, actually, as I used to refer to him in the newsletter, the Shat.
Mm-hmm.
This fucking guy. So the announcers say, I swear to God they said this. And it's probably true. Ernest Miller has decided that he doesn't want to be a wrestler.
Right.
He wants to work to his strengths, which is martial arts. He's so much worse working to his strengths. When he first started and he was trying to be a professional wrestler that did a couple of kicks and such, he was 1,000 times better than he is after 2 years of experience. It's mind-blowing. This fucking guy sucks. And he gets worse every single week. This match sucked. Fans chanted boring.
Brian's choked up.
I nearly died.
He just struck ill.
I've been struck dead by this fucking match. It goes on for an hour, right?
A long time.
It was a while.
Announcers are bored to tears. They're busy talking about the Warrior. And then Ernest Miller wins and challenges anybody and nobody accepts.
Right.
Has there ever been worse television?
Do any of you have any idea what submission hold Kenny Chaos attempted to put on in the middle of this match?
Yeah. He
did a horrible springboard clothesline, and then he had Kat sitting down on the match, and it was behind him, and kind of grabbed an arm.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this thinking, every part of Kat's body looks like it is comfortable right now. Nothing there looks painful at all.
The funny thing about that is, Larry Zbyszko, who won't let anything go, is talking about how, he doesn't have it on quite right.
I'll say.
And he has to bury everything. If it was an actual hold,
Good
Larry
for him.
would bury it.
These numbskulls deserved it.
Now, you know that the Shat, as Brian says, eventually morphs into a James Brown.
Yes.
Oh, I'm well aware. It's the one great thing he did in his career. When they actually... we'll get to it. What the fuck?
Okay.
Every week on... This is... I swear to God, this is true.
Okay.
Every week on television, fucking Ernest Miller comes out, and he acts like James Brown, the fucking godfather of soul, is going to show up on Nitro. He goes on week after week after week after week. Everybody just figures, they're just doing whatever. James Brown is never going to show up on this goddamn show. Well, you know what? He did. Unannounced and unadvertised on a pay-per-view.
That's right.
Can you imagine?
We were watching that at you still live in your parents' apartment in Bothell, and we're sitting on the couch, which is probably smaller than this couch here.
Yep.
And James Brown comes out on television.
We fell
Our
off the...
jaws fell open.
Oh, my
We stared
God.
at each other. What is happening? James Brown, the biggest star on this show, just made a cameo appearance.
Unannounced, unadvertised cameo appearance.
Well, back here on Nitro.
Oh, my God. It was so bad.
Chris Adams versus Stevie Ray. Very few men...
Can we talk about the finish, by the way, of that last match really quickly?
I thought we did.
Yeah,
No.
we did.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it was kick, but Chaos is on the outside. And here's the spot. you go for a springboard, I'll move, you just land on your feet, and I'll kick you.
That's how it went. I'm sorry, dude. It was a terrible match. What do you want me to do?
Dude.
It was dirt awful.
Horrible.
There's very few men in this world who can pull off the shiny, all-white bodysuit, and Stevie Ray is not on the list.
Stevie Ray versus Gentleman Chris Adams. It's terrible.
Stevie Ray is like a negative of the rest of the NWO crew.
Basically.
Yeah, because they all wear black with white trim.
Right.
So Stevie Ray comes out in all white with black trim.
That's right. So he squashed Adams in a boring manner. Adams made a comeback. Vincent distracted him. I did laugh. Stevie then hit a super kick and a pedigree for the win. He ripped off Shawn Michaels and Triple H's finishers.
Well, he's been using the quote-unquote slapjack for a while.
I wrote awful television.
Had another Nitro Girls video.
Oh, God.
That was the first time, I believe, each woman was... I mean, the announcers have said their names before, but if you weren't, like, taking notes at home... I was taking notes. I still couldn't keep track of who was who. So the first time they put up each woman with her name on a graphic, confirming that Spice was the hottest.
Whisper.
Yes, he did. Saturn... Okay. The only good thing about this next segment was Raven wearing a Savatage t-shirt. Raven and a bunch of his lackeys come out. And I've lost all trace, all track, all concept of which of these guys like each other and which of these guys don't. So I start writing down what I think the match is like 3 or 4 times, and they're all wrong. Is it a tag match? Is it a 3-way? I have no idea what's going on. Then Raven announces a match, but then changes it. It becomes Saturn versus Riggs. To make a long story short, that's the match. So Saturn's wrestling Riggs. Whoever is losing, Raven is berating them on the mic. This kills any and all heat the match might have had. Saturn eventually wins with a DVD. Raven is not satisfied. Because Saturn gave his word he would do whatever Lodi said, thus effectively whatever Raven said. So Raven says, Saturn, you must break this man's fingers or break your word. Saturn doesn't know what to do, so Raven gives me a third option. You can break your word, you can break this man's fingers, or let me break yours. So Saturn lets him break his fingers. Raven goes all Marty Skrull on him, and now Saturn has broken fingers going into his match with Raven at Fall Brawl in 6 days.
You know, so the story here is that Saturn lost a match. He's got to do whatever Lodi wants. He's a military man. He's a man of honor. And so he's going to abide by his word. And Raven's a dick, and Raven's taking advantage of that. Raven's broken his fingers right before they have a match. The thing is, this has the potential to turn into like a really good storyline and angle. But it's Nitro. I have absolutely no faith in them doing that. And so I watched this whole thing and I did not give a shit. That's sad. The show's ruined me.
It's terrible too because they gave Lodi a little bit of power and he's gone mad, drunk with power. You know, Raven tells him what to do, then he tells Saturn what to do.
Mm-hmm. Could be good, but
it's
the show sucks. And then...
Speaking of things that suck.
Oh my God. Okay,
this is actually the match I was thinking of earlier.
Was this like a stupid play off Montreal, or was Jim Neidhart just the worst wrestler in the history of the universe?
I'll take
the
option
latter.
B for 100.
Now, I will... until the finish, this exceeded my very, very low expectations.
Yeah, Chris Jericho until the finish got a decent match out of Jim Neidhart, which I thought was impossible.
Then it was time to end things. Now, a lot happened here, so bear with me.
Actually, it was just one thing that went on for 9 hours and got fucked up the whole time.
Jericho goes to the Boston Crab, but Jim Neidhart is not flexible enough to roll over onto his belly. He tried, and he tried, and he tried, and he tried. Finally, he gave up and rolled back over to his back. So now Jericho's still on his feet, and Neidhart's on his back. At this point, the ref calls for the bell. But no bell rings.
Yeah, where was the bell ringer in this?
So they keep going. Jericho tries to get the Boston Crab again. Neidhart kind of, sort of gets over onto his belly, but at the same time is reaching for the ropes. The ref calls for the bell. Jericho releases the hold, walks around the ring. The ref raises Jericho's hand. Then the bell rings. What a disaster.
And then Neidhart just jumps to his feet like he's totally fine.
Well, he never got put in the hold.
I guess.
Well, he kind of did.
I don't know.
The announcers had no idea what's going on.
No one
As
did.
they
Jericho's
should.
mad. Neidhart acts furious. It was just the biggest mess. It's terrible. And did we mention terrible Eddie Guerrero's promo?
Poor Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie comes out in a Pencil Busters t-shirt.
You know, before you get going, Vinny, I believe it was last week, might have been a couple of weeks ago, might have been on every show over the last 2 months. We talked about how the Cahoots storyline may be the worst storyline in wrestling history. You're wrong. This fucking storyline
There's
with
at least-
Eddie Guerrero and Eric Bischoff is so much worse than Cahoots, it's not even funny.
For the record, so is Raven Saturn Canyon. Also worse than Cahoots. Eddie's got a Pencil Busters t-shirt on. And then he turns his back. On the back it says, "Fire me, free me, please," I believe. Said he had suffered a back injury against Bryan Adams last week. Per his contract, Eric Bischoff is responsible for his care.
He should have said, I got a back injury carrying Bryan Adams last week since they're being
I
inside.
should have just winked at the camera.
Yeah.
He had a lot of inside references about wanting to go wrestle somewhere else. I didn't write any of them down. He just said he was going to do them both a favor and take the night off. This angle sucks, I wrote.
It's terrible. It's one of the worst angles I've ever seen.
Kurt Hennig versus Dean Malenko in a cage match.
You know, the end of this match was worth the wait, but
Let me tell you something. All right? I was watching this match, and it's Kurt Hennig hitting 700,000 moves in a row. None of them are terribly exciting. I'm fighting to stay awake. I'm fighting. Thank God my wife arrived home in the middle of this match and gave me an excuse to hit pause and go talk to her for 20 or 30 minutes. I was so excited to have a break. Then it came back, I had to finish the rest of this match, and I felt like I had started over. They just kept going.
Ask you a question. At one point in this match, Kurt Hennig grabs the beam above the cage.
The cage had a roof.
And lifts himself up,
Yeah.
back exposed to Dean Malenko. And time passed. Dean reaches up and pulls him down to the mat. Hard.
Slammed him down.
What was his...
Kurt's plan was Dean will grab me and slam me to the mat.
I'm sure they had some sort of idea. I don't know. All I know is it's inconceivable that Kurt Hennig and Dean Malenko could have a match this boring. But they did it because it's Nitro. Fans chanted boring like they chanted boring during a Dean Malenko-Kurt Hennig match.
Well, they were right.
In a cage!
And again, I ask, why the cage match?
Well, speaking of why a cage match,
Well, let's
Greg,
just get going here.
Let's get to the
Ref
finisher.
took a bump. Bischoff runs down, unlocks the cage. Stevie and Rick Rude hit the ring. They attack Malenko. Now listen to me. This would have been stupid on any day, but 6 days before War Games, you decide to kill the integrity of a cage just like this on Nitro.
This
I mean,
ca-
could you be any more fucking stupid?
So this cage, a steel cage match
With a roof.
with a roof. Tony noted this cage is primarily a weapon. Its secondary purpose is to stop interference.
That's wrong.
Cage match ended in a DQ due to outside interference. Number 1. I already forgot what number 2 was. And all this terrible wrestling. Oh, if you're just going to do a DQ finish anyway, why bump the ref?
Why the cage?
Why the cage? Why did any of this happen? Now, there's an answer to that at the very end, but there had to be a better idea to get from point A to point B. Point B was fine, but my God, point A. So the NWO is running wild on Malenko. They start to drag him to the door. They're going to slam his head in the door, much like they did to Ric Flair last year when Hennig turned on the Horsemen and blew them up. But someone comes down to make the save, and that someone is Arn goddamn Anderson. Arn runs wild. He destroys...
That is Christian name.
Yes, actually. Okay. The Lord bestowed upon him his profane name. Arn destroys everyone at ringside. He gets to the ring where there's Stevie Ray. He takes off his jacket. The place is like jumping up and down in a frenzy. Arn beats Stevie Ray's ass, kicks him out of the cage. Crowd is chanting for the Horsemen as Dean and Arn are now back to back and then eye to eye, and they've come to an agreement here. This angle was awesome.
It was unbelievably great.
I sure wish they did not have a 7-hour match leading up to the angle.
Well, it's a 3-hour show.
It's a 3-hour show, which I don't know if we've mentioned this yet. It's the go-home show for Fall Brawl.
Mm-hmm.
A show which has War Games and, as far as I know, nothing else, including nothing for the World Heavyweight Champion Bill Goldberg. In fact,
let's find out.
The only thing they had for Goldberg to do on this show was beat Scott Putski.
Yeah, but you know what? This was another unbelievably great squash match.
It sure was.
They go in there, and Scott Putski actually slips behind on a move.
Actually, it's what they planned. Goldberg went for like a slam, and but you see this in every match. A guy goes for a slam, and the opponent slips over, lands on his feet behind him, and does a kick, whatever.
Goldberg gave him a backdrop, basically.
This came off like it was not the plan, but Goldberg threw him so high that he lost control of him, and Scott was fortunate to land on his feet and hit this move.
That's what happened.
It was awesome.
Scott Putski grabs him. He hits a suplex. Goldberg responds by not selling it, leaping to his feet, spearing and jackhammering this guy. It was so awesome.
It was.
Best thing on the show.
Yes, it was. It was.
A delight.
I'm watching this. Everyone's on their feet. Everyone's going crazy. And I thought, this guy is unfuck-upable.
Oh.
Okay, so here's a quick update here.
Okay.
There were 9 matches at Fall Brawl.
Yikes.
British Bulldog and Jim Neidhart versus the Dancing Dildo.
Ah, God.
Jericho defeated a Goldberg impersonator. Ernest Miller beat Norman Smiley.
Ooh.
Oh, God.
Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner go to a no contest.
Okay, that's another match where they plugged.
Hoovy beat Silver King. Saturn beat Raven. Yeah. Malenko beat Hennig via DQ.
Oh, God.
Conan beat Scott Hall. What?
Huh?
And then the Team WCW versus Team NWO match, which we got to watch next week, by the way.
Yay.
Yeah, Fall Brawl, everybody.
The last note on Goldberg before we move on. When I say he was unfuck-upable, he's celebrating afterwards. He's going crazy. He starts to shake the ropes like the Ultimate Warrior. He loses his grip on the ropes and starts to fall back on his ass. But he's Goldberg. He just rolls through backwards up to his feet like he meant to do it all the whole time. It was awesome.
He's great. He's the best.
He is the best wrestler of all time.
It sucks because there's like 5 minutes of the show that I look forward to every week.
As Goldberg?
And it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
I got to talk about this next match. I don't know if anyone noticed it but me, but it's DDP and Roddy Piper versus Luger and Sting.
Excuse me. Luger and Sting.
Yeah.
So Kevin Nash, the leader of the Wolfpack, backed out of a challenge.
Yeah.
That's right.
He backed out of a fair fight. Just making sure.
They changed their mind. Yeah. So, in this match, Sting is running wild on Page. Gets a hot tag. And they botch a spot, and it breaks down into just the clumsiest, ugliest four-way brawl you've ever seen. So in the middle of this brawl, there's 4 guys in the ring. And Piper and Luger are brawling in the middle of the ring. And Sting and DDP are over kind of a little bit by the corner. And I don't know what happened, but they run at each other. They do just the ugliest double clothesline of all time. Sting lands and is furious.
Uh-huh.
And he's screaming something motherfucker.
Shit, I heard loudly.
He's so mad. So then out comes Nash. Mm-hmm. And Nash runs down to the ring. He takes out Roddy Piper. DDP and Sting are still brawling. Sting is against the ropes, and DDP is trying to clothesline him out of the ring.
I noticed this one. I didn't notice the first one.
This is the other one.
I'll go back.
Yeah. So Sting does something. He goes over the top, and he starts screaming, "Shit, do something about that, motherfucker." I don't know what happened, but Sting was so mad. And then Nash kills DDP with a power bomb and just leaves him laying. I don't know what happened during this match. I've got to find out. Sting was so angry. I don't know if he was angry at DDP. I presume he was, because every time he was swearing, it was with a DDP spot. Mm-hmm. But man, this was just a disaster on live television.
Well, I'm going to go back and watch that. I noticed the second blow up at Page.
Dude, watch the first one. When they do the double clothesline, that's the first time that Sting freaks out.
Because I assumed like maybe Nash missed a cue, and that's why Sting was mad.
No.
Okay.
It was something that happened before that.
I'll have to go back and check. Now, I'm very curious about this now. So let's talk more about Nash. After refusing to answer Page's challenge like a bitch, Nash lets these guys fight, comes out, attacks Roddy Piper from behind. Throws him into the post. I thought the Wolfpack was like the anti-heroes, or maybe just the cool kids. They were not WCW, but they were clearly getting the biggest baby faces in the show. And they are clearly... They had not been breaking rules in a long time, at least not like this. Nash backs out of a fight, jumps Piper from behind, jumps Page from behind, leaves them all laying. All I can think is, who would cheer this guy? I know he wants to be cheered, but who would cheer him right now?
Well, when you think about it, a pack of wolves, when they see a bunch of deer, they pick out the sick and the elderly. So
Piper and Page.
Right.
Okay.
Dude, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that was the match.
That was the main event.
Then I realized there's 8 minutes of TV time left.
Oh, yeah, we got a big angle.
This show at this point just kept going. It wouldn't stop.
The NWO
It is
music
all-
plays. Nothing happens for a while. Finally, Hogan and Giant appear. Hogan dares Warrior to come out. He calls for the cage to be lowered. Hogan has a deal. He says, "We've looked around. We know Warrior's not under this ring. We've got the cage down here. The door is wide open. Warrior, come on down. You fight the Giant. Now, you'll never beat the Giant, but if you do, you'll prove you're worthy of a match against me." At this point, the ring begins to fill with smoke. When the smoke clears, much like Seattle.
I was going to say it's like Seattle. But you know what's weird about this noxious smoke?
The Ultimate Warrior appears out of it.
Well,
It doesn't affect Hogan.
Warrior magically appears. It does not affect him.
Or Hogan.
It does not affect Hogan, but it puts the Giant to sleep.
Right.
Well, I assume we're supposed to believe that somewhere in the smoke, Warrior hit Giant with a chair.
Maybe, but I mean, he was just nonchalantly
Yeah,
sitting
but
in that chair.
Last week, it didn't affect Hogan either, and there was a bunch of bodies laying in the ring.
Yeah,
I
it's magic smoke.
I honestly believe we're supposed to believe the Ultimate Warrior is in fact the Flash and is moving at the speed of light, killing men when the smoke.
I think
hits.
it's magic noxious smoke.
See,
I
if
can't
you
prove you're wrong.
Now, what a great gag it would be if the smoke fills the ring and the smoke finally dissipates and all the NWO are standing there with gas masks.
Can I ask the big important question? When do we get Hogan and Warrior in the mirror? It's got to be like
Pretty
any time.
soon.
October, Halloween Havoc is the match.
It may be next
we
week.
got like 6 weeks then.
Oh man, 6 weeks of magic.
Uh-huh. So Hogan is in the cage with Warrior. Bischoff comes running out and does nothing. Hogan hits a chair shot. Warrior no-sells it. Hogan's plan...
Hold on. Hold on. Do not step over this Geek of the Week showing here. Warrior fills the ring with smoke. He magically appears in a chair. Hogan is scared. The Giant's dead. Warrior stands up with the chair. Hogan is begging off. Warrior's first big offensive maneuver in his comeback is he runs at Hogan with the chair. Hogan moves,
Yes.
He doesn't dodge.
demonstrating
He moved.
his great speed and stealth.
He's the Reverse Flash.
The Warrior swings the chair.
Red and yellow.
He hits the goddamn corner pad with it. And then Hogan swings his chair and waffles the Warrior.
That happened.
You could not be a bigger geek than the Warrior was here. Now, to his credit, Warrior didn't sell this chair shot and Hogan ran for his life. But oh
But
my
still.
God, you're an idiot. You're an idiot.
That's what happened. So
He
Hogan
got his
runs...
revenge when they did that cage match and did the log roll spot, but still.
So Hogan locks the cage with Warrior inside. I don't know what he thought was going to happen. The ring fills with smoke. The smoke goes away. Warrior is gone. This magic show is the go-home segment for Fall Brawl.
Yeah. Crowd chanted Hogan sucked. And you want to know what else sucks? This fucking show sucks.
Yep.
That's it, everyone.
God, the Monday Night Wars. What happened? I gotta watch like that WWE documentary on the Monday Night Wars.
Oh, I
No,
bet
you don't.
that's not
No, I really
one-sided.
got it.
I think
I need to see them spin it to how great this was.
I think I lasted 6 minutes before giving up in the first episode. Although in those 6 minutes, I did see Buddy Wayne. So there's that.
Really? Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What's he do? Just a squash?
Booker T whips his ass.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, everybody. That's the show. And we'll be back on Thursday. We'll be back with Lucha Underground NXT and all the other usual shows as well. I'm back with a vengeance. Got a lot of great stuff coming up. Big surprise tomorrow. Should be a fun time, and that is it. We'll talk to you again after a while.
Good night.
Bye.